Hi, I'm Chris Thompson. I'm going to present on how to confront disruptive patron behavior in the library. This is going to be maybe a small selection, but something that could be useful in adding to any kind of conflict tool belt that you have in case you come across any situations. So here's some things that could be useful in all scenarios. One, it's important to think about, have the mindset of this is a problem situation, not a problem patron. It's easier to not take a situation personally than it is to not take a person personally if there's any kind of conflict. I think it's easier to think about a situation is much easier to fix and change than a person. It's also important to be friendly, no matter how irritated you may feel. It's always important to be friendly, introduce yourself, calmly explain the problem, maybe even use a little bit of humor to help diffuse any tension. And it's important to be empathetic, especially if there's an angry patron. And it's important to be able to say something like, that frustrates me too. I hate it when that happens too. And along with that, it's good to listen to the patron. You may be tempted to want to interrupt and talk and say something, but sometimes it's best to be quiet and to listen to what they have to say. And then when they're done, even repeat what they've said, so that way they feel validated, they feel like they're being listened to. It's also important to document everything. That way, if you ever come together as a group, and you can have documented what are some problems they may be having commonly. Staff training, everybody's favorite. This is another place that can help everybody become prepared for any kind of problem situations that you come across. For one thing, a staff meeting could be a place to vent any problems that you've come across and then reflect as a group what are things that we could do better in this kind of situation. The staff trainings are also places that you can reinforce library policy. I think it's important that all staff are on the same page and they all know what the library policy is. So you should know when should you approach a patron about what their behavior, or when should you let things go. It's also a good idea to train staff in using technology, especially if there's any new technology. Technology, it can be a source of frustration if it's not working properly or if the patron just doesn't know how to use it. Another source of frustration for patrons is they may not know how to use a library. So it'd be good to use staff training to teach staff how to teach patrons to use the library. One common type of problem patron that comes up in the literature is the homeless. And if you're ever handling a situation with the homeless, it's always important to show compassion. You should always show compassion, but a lot of homeless people are they're vulnerable, they're in a difficult situation, so it's good to show them that you care. Like saying good morning or saying hi. But it's also important to set boundaries if they're not following policies. In one article I read was talking about the unsheltered, and some libraries having problems with unsheltered camping out in like library grounds. And by law you can't say you can't camp out here overnight because you got to have people have got to be able to live. But you could set some boundaries and say during library hours you need to go elsewhere, or you're welcome to come in and use our facilities. Also look up and work with community resources. Find places that they could find shelter, places they could eat, places they could bathe. Treat all homeless as deserving. Some people categorize homeless as deserving and undeserving. The deserving are those who are part of family units, like children. The undeserving may be those who are single adult males. Really, all should be viewed as deserving. The last thing I'm going to talk about here is sexual harassment. One article I read, the author conducted a survey and found that over 60% of female library staff have been sexually harassed in the workplace. This could be the patron staring, could be patron stalking, could be a patron making inappropriate comments or wanting to marry you and have your kids with you, that kind of thing. It's important to not keep this bottled up, and you should tell somebody, tell a trusted coworker, tell a manager. Also document everything. If this is an ongoing problem, if you have things documented, that can make it, give you more evidence to act on something. And lastly is, this is especially for the kind of patron who's making inappropriate comments, you know, confront that offender. Say something like, that comment is inappropriate, please stop. The article I read also had a list of other things that you could say to patrons that seemed very useful. And if you're interested, I could post a link to that underneath my presentation. And that is all that I'm going to cover for this presentation. There's so much more that you could add to that tool belt, but I think this would be very useful in case you come across any kind of problem in the workplace. And thank you for watching.